This is WT for TST, and this evening I'm honoured to be joined by Jack Arnfield. How are you doing, mate?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Looking well?
Yeah, training hard, just in the gym a lot and keep myself fit and ready to go. Always good, especially when you get a fight come knocking on your door.
Ready to go. Right, on that. First time on TST, what we like to do is go back to your childhood, get to know you as a person, not just the boxer, then go into your boxing stuff. So, your childhood, Sheffield?
Yeah, so born in a little place called Bamford, just outside Sheffield. Lived there till I was 7, and then moved over to the Fylde Coast.
Blackpool. So 7 years old, changing primary schools, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
How was that? Did you fit in right away?
Yeah, it was all right. Went too bad. I was never a fan of school when I was little, but yeah, just jumped straight back in. Went over to a little school called Stallmire Primary School, just outside of Blackpool where we lived, and cracked on from there.
So when did you find boxing?
I was about 9 when I started in the gym. My brother Lewis and Tony, they were a little bit older than me. They both started out in the same gym, started a couple of years before me. And I wandered in when I got to about 9, just before 10 years old, probably.
So you just followed them in, yeah?
Yeah, just followed them in. Lewis was, my dad's always been mad on boxing. My brother Lewis enjoyed it. There was literally a gym down the road from our house called Burnage Boxing Club. So my brother went down there, and my dad just said to me one night, do you want to go down with him? And he took me down, and yeah, I took to it.
Did you ever spar Lewis?
We did when we got bigger, yeah. He didn't enjoy it so much. All the times he was a big brother, been a bully when he got back to him a little bit later on in life.
And then, so from there, talk to us about the amateurs. So you had a fair decent amateur career.
Yeah, it weren't too bad. So I started off at Burnage when I was a young kid. Went across to Fleetwood for a few months, and then Kirkham ABC, and then I had my first amateur fight with Andy Sumner at Blackpool and the Fylde ABC. There was a few decent fighters out there. Brian Rose was a few years old. Me, he's from Blackpool and the Fylde ABC. There was Ashley Dean. He was on the GB squad. Curtis Dean, his brother, he was on the GB squad. Carl Kirkham. A few really good amateurs come out of Blackpool. I mean, they didn't go any further than the amateurs, obviously, apart from Brian. But yeah, we've had some decent fighters come out of there. I had about 60 odd fights, 67 I think, or 68 amateur fights. I won about 45, 46, something like that.
What made you go pro?
I just loved it. I just loved the training. Just loved the life. I was always fit, always active as a kid, and I thought, what better way to earn money if I can out of doing something that I love rather than working.
Working for a living, yeah, it's harder. Well, it depends. Some people will say getting punched in the face for a living is tough, mate.
It is tough sometimes, but if you love it, it's not work.
So your pro career, we'll fast forward a little bit. 2 decent names on there that I've picked out just to talk about. I don't think we can do this interview without talking about Brian Rose. Like when I did his, we couldn't do it without talking about you. And John Ryder as well.
Yeah.
So a question I never really asked Bri, to be fair, I should have, but was it hard fighting your mate? Because at the time you were dead close, yeah? Yeah.
So it was hard, yeah. It was. We always said we'd never fight each other, and we just kind of when I left Bobby Rimmer's gym and Brian stayed, we always kind of said, look, it's going to get asked upon at one point, but we'll both just not do it. So we both decided not to do it. The fight come round and things happen. Managers and promoters do their bit behind the scenes, and we ended up fighting anyway. It wasn't nice. It wasn't nice for any of us. I mean, for me, it was a day in the office, but also a day in the office meant that I ultimately lost a friend. We only made up the past probably year, maybe 15 months at the most. But yeah, it was difficult fighting Brian.
He talks like, well, talk to him. He talks well of you now. So, like you said, you've had all that time. You lost each other for a while. You've regained it. Just quickly though, off camera, I said I wouldn't talk about this, but Bobby Rimmer, you were wound up at that point, weren't you? In one of the press conferences for that fight, at one point, I think he tried to go for you.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same again. I think there was a lot emotionally attached to that. I think when I left Bobby in his gym, he weren't just my coach. He was a good pal. We'd grown close. I lived in his flat, so I think it built up under the scenes and the build up of the fight where me and Bryan was face to face. Obviously, Bryan was still his fighter. Bryan and Bobby are really, really close as friends, let alone just boxer and trainer. They live together. They speak to each other probably daily. They are really, really close outside of boxing. So I think it was a bit personal for Bobby. It was a bit of an attack against him. That's how he took it, which is fair play. If that's how you take it, that's how you take it. But same again now. Me and Bobby are back friends. We still speak, not regularly, but we see each other often and talk to each other often. So all that's been put to bed. But yeah, it was very heated between us at one point.
Well, it's great to hear all's well now, mate. So the other one that I picked out was John Ryder, and looking at his career, how that's gone, that's some win for you now, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, John Ryder. I mean, I took it, but I think I called him out on Instagram or Twitter. I called him, Chris Eubank and a few others. I was winning my fights, and I wanted a big fight, and I couldn't land one. So I thought, you know what, I'll just be cheeky and start shouting my mouth a little bit. And I got a response and a phone call a couple of days later off my manager saying, "Do you want to fight John Ryder?" So yeah, I jumped at the opportunity and got a good win over John. It was a tough fight down at middleweight. And then he's gone on to super middleweight. He's done absolutely fantastic. I mean, look at the wins on his records, how he's progressed. And not even the wins. I mean, the fight with Callum Smith, absolutely belting fight. Arguably, people saying he won it. Me being biased, I'd say he won it. But pure and simply, I might have been watching it with a set of eyes thinking, oh yeah, well, I want him to win because it makes my win over him better. But yeah, great fight. And he's done incredible.
That was a close fight. I won't tell you how I scored it, but blooming heck, that was one of my favourite fights that year. So, moving on back to you. 3 years out of the ring. You've had your issues in that time. Yeah. And ultimately, them issues made you retire from boxing. Is that all good now? All sorted?
All sorted. You know, I've got a brush with the law again, unfortunately. I mean, my own stupid fault. I was arrested on a couple of charges. One of them I categorically did not do. I was falsely accused of something which I fought in court and got not guilty. The other charge, I went guilty. I was guilty. I did what they said. So I took my ban, set out. And at the time, it was 3 years ago nearly now. I thought to myself, right, I knew what the procedure was for the Boxing Board of Control. And logically, I thought, I'm going to be out for a couple of years at least, turning 30, 31. Well, I thought I'd be fine. I'd come 30. Obviously, COVID hit in. So I thought to myself, am I realistically going to be able to get myself into condition, or am I going to keep myself fit? So I retired. I thought, I'm probably not going to. And then during that retirement, I carried on ticking over, carried on training. I even had a BKB fight during that time. Thoroughly enjoyed it, but it didn't quite do the same for me as what boxing does. So I jumped straight back in and started getting fit well over 12 months ago, 15 months ago now, and ready to go. You
won that bare knuckle fight, though, in the first round, didn't you?
I did, yeah. So I think it lasted about 50 seconds, something like that.
Did you get hit much in it, or?
Once in the back of the head. Other than that, I didn't really take a shot. Maybe a few cuffing shots, but there was nothing solid going to land on me. I mean, don't matter who you are, you got no gloves on, you punch hard. So my game plan was to not get hit.
What was the atmosphere like when you did that? Was it worth like insane? Yeah.
Yeah, it was good. So you're in it was at the old Two Indigo. So you're in the centre and the crowd's around you. So it's just no different to a small stadium, but it was packed. It was a few thousand people in there at least, and it was noisy, it was busy. Yeah, it was no different atmosphere to boxing. Just the actual fighting was very different to boxing.
So getting back into boxing, bring us up to date. Like I said, you're nearly 3 years out of the ring. John Dockey. Talk to us about how that came up. Did you just get a phone call and you're in, or?
Yeah, so I've been hounding my manager, Steve Wood. I've literally been on the phone to him I'd say at least once a month, sometimes twice a month, saying what's going on, get me something. And obviously he runs the small hall shows. So I knew there was going to be no small hall shows because there's no crowds and they're funded by ticket sales. But he also, he's got a real big step of foot in the door with all the big promoters and managers, I think around 70 fighters. So I just kept banging on the door and saying, look, get me a fight. I was offered 2 fights. I was offered one a few weeks ago, but it was too short notice. And then I got a phone call, John, this fight, John Dockey, in 6 weeks. So, like I said, I've been in the gym, keeping myself fit, keeping myself ready to go. So 6 weeks I've had a 12-week camp in my eyes. I've been flying. So yeah, good to go.
What about ring rust? I mean, boxers talk about ring rust. Some boxers I've talked about say it doesn't exist. It's nonsense. Some say it's a real thing. Is that going to affect you, or are you going to be all right?
No, I'll be absolutely fine. I spar regular. I've been sparring with Mark Efron. He boxed about 4 weeks ago, so I was helping Mark Efron out. So I was sparring regularly with him to get him right. Jack Cullen boxed. You've gone.
All right, mate. Yeah.
Jack Cullen boxed Zach Chelly a few months back. I was sparring with him regularly to get him ready for that. So I've been in the gym and I've been sparring active, fit fighters ready to go. So as far as ring rust goes, I don't think I'll have
any problems.
No.
If you hadn't been inactive, I would guess people would be saying that this is the step up for John. Because of your inactivity, what would you say, 50-50?
No. John Dockey's got a lot of work to do. I mean, I've been watching John Dockey. I wouldn't say a fan, but I watch a lot of boxing. And I like the way he moves, I like the things he does, but he's not had anyone like me. He's not got anybody with the experience that I've got. And the ring craft. He's a decorated amateur, but it's completely different than pro games. He's only had 9 pro fights. He's going to come up with a lot of things against me, and I'm looking forward to getting in and displaying them. Good
stuff, mate. Well, listen, it's going to be good to have you back. And that's it, really. Apart from, I like to finish these with a few questions from the viewers and the followers. I always say some of them are weird. You have got one strange one, but the other 2 are okay. So we'll go into them if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Alan wants to know, which has been your hardest fight to date?
The toughest fight for me to get mentally prepared for with Brian Rose. The toughest fight totally on my body was Nick Blackwell.
Right.
So yeah, I was. I bet I had Nick whiplash for a good 2 or 3 weeks after that fight. But yeah, mentally Brian Rose, toughest Nick Blackwell.
Right. Okay. Good one. Some names are weird as well. So ML. What happens next if you win? And the bit you might not want to talk about, what happens next if you lose?
Well, I won't be losing, firstly.
Okay, what happens when you win then? Where'd you go?
So for me, it's just an opportunity. So for me, it's like I'm starting off again. I've got this 8-rounder, let's get back in to get this win under my belt. And then I'm going to start knocking on the door. I'm going to start asking for opponents. I'm going to start saying, yeah, let's get in with him, I'll start trying to wind people up because that's the way it seems to get made at the moment, Twitter and Instagram. So I'm going to start doing the same. Just look for opportunity, really.
Well, it worked for you before with John Ryder, yeah?
Exactly, yeah. Just knock on the door for it.
All right, this is your weird one. You ready for this? This is the last question. Pez wants to know, if you could time travel backwards, what year would you go to and would you change anything?
Wow, that's a hard one. You know what? I would go back to 2010 and I'd make sure I didn't get in trouble with the law. Yeah, I'd change what I've done outside of boxing, make my whole and soul focus boxing, nothing else.
Would you change anything inside boxing?
I don't think so. You know, I'm pretty happy with how things have gone. Apart from obviously time out of the ring, so no, I think I'd crack on how I was.
Spot on, Jack. Thank you very much. Just before we finish, have you got anything to say to the viewers or your sponsors?
No, nothing about them. Thank you. A couple of new sponsors jumping on board. John Clark. I've got a couple of my friends, Peter Kirby with CR Joinery. Thank you very much. Yeah, tune in, watch the boxing, NP Nutrition and Wire Fitness as well. They're the two main boys, the two main sponsors. But yeah, tune in on the 14th. Watch me come back and in a good fight against the talented John Dockey.
Good lad, and we'll pick up after your win, yeah?
Yeah, spot on anytime.
Cheers, matey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Pal.